So about a year ago, Canon brought out the 5D Mark IV, and it was met with glowing praise from a lot of wedding photographers, especially landscape photographers as well. Yeah, sure. But has it been the evolutionary step up from the Mark III? Well, over the next few minutes or so, I'm going to try and answer those questions. I've been using it for, like I say, about a year. I used two of them at weddings. They've been great, but has it been as good as I wanted? Especially jumping up from the Mark III. Well, stick around. Let's find out. So one of the big things that Canon really touted when they released this camera was the dual pixel autofocus, and I have to say it's been really good. I have probably had a little bit more success rate with my images and the focusing in daylight conditions, but it's really in the lower light that I find it more beneficial. It just snaps onto the point of interest so much easier, and that's really, really good. That's exactly what we want. That's what we're paying the money for, essentially. You know, when you take a picture, you point it, you find your subject, and you want it to nail the focus. Now, it's not perfect. Like I say, it is a little bit better, but it's not drastically better than the Mark III. The Mark III, if you're using one right now and you're interested in seeing what my thoughts are, then yeah, it is a little bit better, but it's not drastically better. Which is a bit of a shame. I do expect it to be better, but it is very, very good. Don't get me wrong, it's not a negative. This is a positive. Another thing that was really kind of mentioned at the time was the touchscreen, and this is, for me, the best point of the camera. This is, without a doubt, the best. I love it. Absolutely love it. Every camera needs a touchscreen. Regardless, this is 2018, this isn't 2010. If Olympus can have it on their cameras for years now, Panasonic, every camera can have this. We've had mobile phones for 6-7 years, maybe even longer, with touchscreens. Every DSLR from this point forward needs a touchscreen. I cannot stress that enough. It is so useful, and once you start using it, you don't want to go back. You don't want to use the Mark III, or the 60 or whatever camera you've got, because it is so good. So you're flicking through pictures, you pinch zooming and all this kind of stuff. It saves time. If you let the bride and groom see a picture, they know intuitively that you pinch the zoom, and a lot of times I will show the bride and groom their images so they feel good about what I'm taking. And having that touchscreen is so useful. I'm not going to go on too long because I think you get the idea. But one of the other things with the touchscreen, yes, I'm still talking about it, we can take pictures with it as well. So on the back of the camera, here's one I prepared earlier, you just literally tap to focus, and you can basically go through and take pictures with this as well. So you can change the settings and just tap, takes a picture, tap, takes a picture, or you can just set it for the autofocus, tap. So the autofocus kind of goes into the video side as well. Now, I'm not a videographer, cinematographer, and all that kind of stuff. I'm a photographer. I'm a wedding photographer. It's where I make my money, my bread and butter money. That I put food on the table for my family. That's where my money is. So, but for video, I've tested it a little bit, and it's very, 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 very good. So if you're a videographer, you are going to absolutely love this. Like I say, you can just tap to focus, and it works flawlessly. It's absolutely brilliant. And every camera needs this going forward. From this point, they need it. And the face detect on the autofocus as well, for video and for stills, if you're in live view, is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. So most of my positives at this point is literally about the autofocus and the touchscreen. That's mainly where my positives are. There is a little bit more, and this comes in the dynamic range and the ISO. They are probably about a stop better, give or take, depending on the circumstances. of the actual individual image that you're taking. These are tests that I've done personally, and I've just underexposed an image by 5 stops and then pushed it up by 5 stops. I've done this at ISO 100 and at 1000, and the results are pretty good. They're quite encouraging. So you're not going to really want to use these all the time, but you can use these in emergencies, which is really, really assuring. So bear that one in mind. It's not something I'd recommend, but you can do it. Now kind of goes on to a little bit of the cons about this camera, and one of the biggest cons for me is just what you're getting for the amount of money you're paying. Now this kind of sounds a little bit nitpicky, but we are paying over £3,000 or dollars or whatever it is where you live. This is not a cheap piece of equipment. This is very, very expensive, and I want to make sure I get value for money. So when I buy something like this, I want a big evolutionary step. If I wanted just basically the same camera with a slightly different badge, I might as well just stick with the 5D3. The main benefits of this is the low light autofocus, as I've said, better dynamic range on ISO, and the touchscreen. The touchscreen cannot be understated just how good that is. It's just the best feature on the camera. But value for money, I just don't think this is... You're just not getting what I consider personally as a photographer value for money. You might as well stick with the 5D Mark III. Quite honestly, that's absolutely fine. Now, if you're a videographer, yes, this is a big, big, big step up. The Mark III, the autofocus in video was that you'd try and focus it, but and it would just take forever. This, just tap the screen and you're good to go. It's really, really good, and it works pretty much flawlessly. I can't stop praising that part of the camera. The other thing I really, really don't like, and this is more to do with me personally, is I've got pretty much baby hands. So when I hold a camera like this, my finger doesn't even wrap all the way around. It's very uncomfortable for me. Especially when I'm carrying 2 of these around at a wedding. I would use pretty much those hold fast money maker kind of straps, the ones that look like bondage gear, which is always a great giggle at weddings. People love them because they've never seen them before typically. And when I've got these hanging off me all day long, you know what the weight's like. It's ridiculous. You get to the end of the day, your arms hurt, your shoulders hurt, your neck hurts. But if I've tried using, let's say my Sonys at weddings, I've got the A7S, A7 II, even the A6000, they are so light, and the image quality you get out of them are brilliant. I can't speak on Nikon's behalf because I don't use Nikon, so sorry guys. But these are so heavy. Why we have these monstrously large cameras in this day and age, I don't know. And this is only more a personal kind of problem. If you're a woman, watching this, and you'll know what I'm talking about, because most guys do have bigger hands than me, and if that's you, that's a none point. You just ignore the last minute or so. It's not going to work for you. As you probably know, the 4K in this is apparently not the best. I don't shoot 4K. I can't comment. Probably best to look elsewhere for one of those. The last kind of point on the negative side, is the battery. I don't know, I can probably shoot most of the day on one battery, but I will need later on to change the battery, probably closer to the first down kind of area, where it's probably down to about 15 to 20%, and I don't like risking it. So just have another battery in your pocket, swap it out, and you're good to go. And let's be fair, you should always have batteries on you at all points of the day. Otherwise, this, from a photographer's point of view, this is purely from a photographer's point of view. I'm, like I say, not a videographer. So, if you are a videographer, I can definitely see the benefits of going up to the Mark IV. It's very, very good. But from a photographer's point of view, there isn't enough, I personally don't think, to actually make the jump. It's a great camera. It's not the evolutionary step I just want. If you look at something like the Sony A9s that came out last year, they're incredible. They're a lot smaller, a lot more compact, especially if you've got small hands. It's a lot better for someone like me, and I will be looking that way in the future to upgrade to the Sonys. It's just going to work better for me personally, And that's pretty much my thoughts. But remember, if you're a working professional and you've got tax at the end of the kind of work year, you might want to just buy a couple of these, put it through your books, write it off against tax, and you're good to go. That's probably my best advice I can give you. Like I say, you're going to get brilliant pictures out of this anyway. So, yeah, there's not much really else to say. Go out, if you can, rent one of these, see if you like it. It's basically a Mark III with a touchscreen. That's pretty much it.